1 in 5 people in Northern Ireland has a disability. Picture it. 1 in 5 would fill the National Football Stadium at Windsor Park here in Belfast more than 20 times. 1 in 10 young adults aged 16 to 24 have a disability. And right now, the voices of those young adults are largely forgotten, neglected, abandoned, and lost. This means these young people, including my son, remain part of the invisible population. We all deserve to be seen, heard, and included, don't we? When my son Caleb was approaching his 2nd birthday, I started to notice signs he wasn't hitting the typical milestones. He didn't speak, he didn't answer to his name, and he rarely made eye contact. Caleb was in his own world, and he never relied on speech to communicate. Now, having 2 daughters who are quite the opposite, I initially thought, he's a boy, he's laid back, his speech will come in time. But my gut knew something wasn't quite right. You could say that I knew Caleb's voice was lost. That 2-way conversation didn't happen, at least not in the way that I imagined. Caleb was diagnosed with autism when he was 2.5. His speech still didn't come, but what we discovered was something far greater. I remember one day sitting outside watching my children play in the garden. Caleb was in the sandpit. He loved the sand. So he would often sit in the sand and play quietly by himself, quite contently. So I took a moment to close my eyes. And when I opened them, Caleb was standing in front of me. He looked deep into my eyes. He stretched out his hand, and he gave me a daisy. And we both gazed at each other in sheer devotion. It almost felt like time stood still. Not a word was spoken, but everything was said in that moment. My talk today is inspired by the portrait you see behind me. My daughter Lauren did this portrait when she was 16. She came home from school one afternoon and she said, "Mum, I want to make Caleb the focus of my final art exam." Lauren wanted to initiate conversation about Caleb's lost voice and promote, through her art, inclusion. And she did just that. Lauren got an award for her art. And that night in the gallery, she stood beside Caleb. And quite proudly, she was accepting her award, and they went to get a photo taken together. The room was full of people. It was noisy. Caleb was quite anxious. But Lauren knew exactly what he needed. So she reached out her hand, and she held his. The room went silent, and a conversation took place. And that clear message of inclusion was shared. In that silence, in that pure silence, Lauren really helped Caleb to be seen, celebrated, and included. Not a word was spoken, but everything was said in that moment. We mustn't assume there's only one way to have a conversation, but we have so much to learn, don't we? Caleb teaches me so much about the person I'm supposed to be, the person I want to be. Imagine living your life where you accept everybody for who they are. You don't understand difference. In fact, you don't see difference at all. You live your life being yourself at all times, and you don't worry what other people think. You love in a way that is so trusting and unconditional. This is the power of my son's true voice. When young people in Northern Ireland leave special school at 19, the provision is often limited. Unlike England and Wales, we do not have any post-19 special educational needs legislation in place for our young people with disabilities. This means they face a cliff edge. So between 19 and 25, there's no laws. Unlike their peers, it means they have no choice and no clear pathway to an equitable future. This means their voices are forgotten, neglected, abandoned, and lost. I say it's time for a conversation. Just like Lauren, you and I can choose to share this message of inclusion. You can choose to use your voice to bring hope to so many of the 1 in 10 young adults with disabilities here in Northern Ireland. I urge you to have these important conversations about acceptance, inclusion, choice, and equality. Because as many have proven, just like Caleb and so many others, you can find your voice. Please find your voice and use it to help others find theirs. Thank you. You take a bow? You take a bow? Good boy. You wave to them? Thank you.